We'll get our meeting ready to go, please. So we'll call the meeting to order, and our guests today, we've got Audrey Chevalier, a past district governor, also from Chatham Sunrise. Welcome, Audrey. And our speaker today is going to be Karen Gabrys, our district commissioner. So we look forward to hearing from Karen shortly. I want to start off with our happy thoughts. I'm going to figure out a way, Karen. I was talking to Karen on the weekend with regard to an event they're working on where there may be a way that I can possibly start charging for these happy thoughts and make a couple of bucks. So we'll see how that goes. But today they're free. So if you got a happy thought, please chime in. Raise your hand and I'll give you the okay. Peter first, please.
Just a quick thing. As Brett knows, we've officially submitted the second progress report for the Boreas Rachel project, which is nice to get that off because even the progress reports have a lot of bureaucracy in them, an awful lot of writing. The third progress report will undoubtedly be late because everything is suspended because of lockdowns in Guatemala.
Okay, and just a side note to that, next week we'll have our official vote on the
Paytan Club
project. Guatemala project. So that'll be next week. And Jennifer, you had a...
Since we took the walk on the Eco Trail, we've been there 4 times since that, which this means we're really slow at getting there, but we've been walking.
But it's a beautiful walk. I was there yesterday.
Yeah, beautiful day too.
Barry Fraser, unmute.
Yesterday morning, I walked around the Eco Trail with a chap who walks the trail twice a day, every day. And I chose to walk with him to get his observations as to how the trail could be improved and whatnot. So it was a very good roundabout around the entire bush lot.
Yeah, it's nice right now.
Yes,
Andy, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, my happy buck is that our hydro came back on at 10:30 last night after going off at 6 o'clock. I don't know who, I was feeling sorry for all the bingo people that wouldn't be able to run their bingo, but I got the results, so you must have run it very well. I don't know how widespread it was.
We didn't have anybody tell us their hydro went out, so I think we were fortunate there.
On the hydro report, it showed a very widespread area, so we didn't know whether you'd be in problems or not. So my happy buck is you got along fine with the hydro on.
Wonderful. And any other happy bucks? Jennifer, did you raise your hand again? Whoops, you're muted. Okay, so last call, happy bucks. Okay, we're gonna move on. So our birthdays, now that I see he's joined us, Carl Veroba had a birthday a couple of days ago, September 21. Happy birthday, Carl.
Thank you.
And tomorrow, I turn older, so it's my birthday tomorrow. Club anniversaries, we have Bob Rankin is 11 years, and Terry Smith is 4 years. So congratulations there. And I had earlier said that we would take a few minutes today with regard to some recollections with regard to Ross Eberly. Our last surviving war veteran, 60-year member of the club, and just a wonderful gentleman. I've talked to a few people who were able to get over for a visitation and the funeral, and we're just asking for anybody with a few happy thoughts, but I'm going to jump right into Allison, and just because Tom had emailed me a couple of things, so Allison, do you have those as well? Oh, hit the right button there.
I'm using my phone as my Zoom today, so it's a different setup. Sorry,
oh dear.
It's a little weird. Okay, because I need to use my phone to film and then my computer to read.
Okay.
It's like walking and chewing gum at the same time.
Good luck with that.
Okay, so this is what My cousin John Sonnen sent, who was a friend of Ross's. John is the son of Augie Sonnen, who worked with Ross. So Dad, aka Augie, has said that Ross's attention to detail was unmatched as the company's accountant. And that would be Sonnen Products, now Guspro. I deal with a great deal of accountants, and from what I was told, he really was the foundation at the company for so many years. He worked for 3 generations of Sonnens, maybe 4. I'm going to give everyone an "I'll bet you didn't know about Ross" story. His spiritual, intellectual strength and compassion I don't have to add more to, but long ago in the late 60s, I attended a Sonnen Company summer party at Steve Emmons, also a former Rotarian, his place at Erio. All the employees and families from the shop were there to swim and outdoor summer frolicking. Beer, too. Among the men came an arm wrestling contest. Someone started with the challenge and it began. The winner? Ross. Easily. He was probably in his early 40s, well past his fittest years in the Royal Canadian Navy. But ex-Navy have a lot of tricks. Not that this competition was decided that way. Anyone familiar with some of the men from the shop knew they could bend steel and lift fully assembled honing machines into trucks. I've never forgotten that story. So that's from my cousin John. And unfortunately, my dad couldn't join the meeting today, but he did send along his 2 cents. So from Tom, he says, I will not add to the many comments of admiration regarding Ross already received. However, I do want to acknowledge something else of much importance to me. When I joined the club in 1983, I recall clearly my first Remembrance Day meeting, and that at the preceding week's meeting, our president, Eddie Mariconda, reminding all veterans to wear their medals. At the meeting itself, the veterans were asked to stand, and I was astonished to see what I thought was at least half the club on their feet. I had no idea. In the years since, I remember people like Frank Archibald, a true decorated war hero who loved to reminisce, Bob Bradley, who continued with an active role in the military reserve until his death, and finally Bill Martin, a very quiet, unassuming, successful local businessman, and the most unwarlike person you'd want to meet, who as a pilot officer flew Mosquito Pathfinders. They were called that as they led the huge bombing raids and marked targets with incendiaries. The mortality rate among these air crews was incredibly high. Bill, who I knew well, never spoke of his wartime experiences. These people, like Ross, were typical of the many others in the club who served, most of them seeing action and also many of them being wounded both physically and spiritually. Ross was the last of these gentlemen to whom we owe so much as a Rotary Club, a community, and a country, and I mourn their passing into history. So that's from my dad.
Thank you, Allison. Anybody else with a remembrance of Ross? Andy, please.
Yes, my remembrance of Ross, I've known him first for pretty near 50 years, whenever we were Rotary together. But my memory is the club always had a Remembrance Day service that's been mentioned. And one year, Ross was the speaker at that meeting, and I will never forget it. He told us a couple of things. One was that he was in the Second World War and his brother was in the First World War, and it takes somebody to figure that out. But he told us how it happened, and it was because it was I think his father was married twice or something. But that was really something to have 2 brothers, one in the First World War and one in the Second World War. And the other one was that he was the communications man on the Navy ship that he was on, and he was apparently on duty when the war was over, and he got the message that the war was over, and he was able to send that off to everybody else in the ship. And that was, in his opinion, that was one of his greatest memories, was the day that the war was over. I remember that, but I was only in about grade 2, so I don't remember too much. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom McCarthy and then Barry.
Thank you, sir. My memories are really quite personal. And I wanted to share that, first of all, in the early days of my membership in Rotary, I joined in 1994. Ross invited my wife Sandy and me to their home for a visit, a meal, and a tour of their garden. They shared some of their history, explained their love of Chatham and its people, and Ross took us on a tour of his garden. He explained how it had gone from a beautiful, annually developed art space to a pleasant but simpler display. Still a lot better than in most yards. The primary reason for pulling back, of course, was physical limitations of age, but it was still a pleasure to enjoy. As I struggled this past week to remove the excess plants from our pond garden, and was considering the difficulty involved, I remembered Ross's comments very significantly. For several years, Ross and Lois were members of and attended events of the Chatham Dickens Fellowship. They were original members when we started it. And of course, I served on the board for several years. So we enjoyed our banquets, sat together, compared notes on our theater presentations, shared Dickens stories during our conversations, even at Rotary meetings. And of course, as was already mentioned, a Canadian naval veteran, Ross enjoyed sharing stories and helped each year to organize our luncheon celebration of Remembrance Day. My best memory was the last event organized by Ross with my assistance and involving presentations by Frank Archibald, Rick Briscoe, and of course, Ross himself. Their personal stories, both at the meeting and during our conversations when I picked each of them up and took them back home, were among my most pleasurable experiences as a member of this club. Sitting with Ross at a Rotary meeting, sharing positive thoughts and experiences will always be one of my most positive experiences as a club member. And finally, attending a few of the special events honoring Ross's contributions to our community, such as the Community Foundation celebrations, Ross' 52nd anniversary as a Rotarian and his 91st birthday, always illustrated the overwhelmingly positive impact that Ross had, not just in our club, but right across our community. He is one of the people who made a significant contribution to my being proud to be a Rotarian.
Thank you, Tom. Barry?
Thank you, President Brett, and especially to our district Governor Karen. Back in 1988, as I was completing my year as president of the then 120-member club, Ross Eberly introduced me to present the annual Club Swan speech. He was always recognized for his honesty and professionalism to represent his avocation in Rotary. His strong baritone radio voice drew people to listen to him intently. As president of our club twice, some 40 years ago, Ross was astute in his leadership and considerate of others. He stood strong for Rotary's avenues of service, which are the real body of Rotary. He said they represent the direction and quality of a Rotary club that a Rotary club should take. Their strengths mirror our efforts to make Rotary a difference in the world. Ross was my mentor and my mirror. It is for those reasons that I still have the handwritten notes that he followed back on June 29th, 1988. So my sympathies go out to his family and especially Lois, who is still a resident at St. Andrew's Residence, where she and Ross have resided for over 10 years. So a bit adieu to Ross.
Thank you, Barry. So anyone else with a remembrance? Paul Watson, please.
You know, we've heard lots of tributes about Ross as a Rotary member and in his employment role, but he was also a family man and a father, and that's where I first knew him. His son David and I are the same age, and we both went to school together, and I used to visit over at their home on Queen Street. And back in the day when David and I were school aged, there was no subdivision back behind Ross's house. It was just a big cornfield. So David and some of his friends, including myself, we used to get into the cornfield and start getting paths through there and building forts. And generally having fun but damaging the cornfield. And one day the farmer went to Ross and he says, there's been kids playing back here, and there's, they're damaging my field, and there's all these paths, and all the paths lead to your house. I think Ross was a little taken aback by that, and I know that he had a few words with David about why all the paths that were damaging the farmer's field ended up in his backyard.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we've covered everyone that had a bit of a story. Ross was indeed a fine gentleman, and definitely he'll be sadly missed, but it was great to have him as part of the club. He was there when I came in 10 years ago, and just a true gentleman. You just really appreciate it if you had a few minutes to stop and talk to him. And now I know someone who's got some very tough shoes to fill, because Les Herman took over the job that Ross had done at now Guspro. So good luck to you, Les. Tough shoes to fill, but I think you've been doing it for a while, so I think you got that down pat. So thanks to everybody for sharing. I just like to, for some of us that didn't have the opportunity to know some of our past Rotarians that did mean so much to our club, I'd just like to take a few minutes when we have the opportunity. However, the fewer of those, the better, if you don't mind. So we're going to move on to the meat of our presentation. We're going to invite Karen Gabrys, our district commissioner for District 6380, and see how she's doing in our COVID year. Karen? I can see the screen, Karen, but I can't hear you.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that. I muted myself. I just wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you for the opportunity to join you today. It really is a pleasure to see you all in Chatham. Wish I could be there. COVID has definitely made life a little bit differently from what we had anticipated. I talk to the presidents on a semi-regular basis and always say, this isn't the year we had planned. This is something quite different, but we've been making the best in moving forward. I am looking forward to when the borders open between the countries and we can once again freely move between and visit and have in-person events. But for now, we're on Zoom, and appreciate the Chatham Rotary stepping into the Zoom world and meeting in this fashion. I know it's not the same as being able to actually get to see people and talk to them in person, but it is filling the gap for us at this particular time. And as I said, the COVID has really given us something very, very different to deal with. And I talked recently to another club president who really expressed the desire to getting things back to normal. And I thought, oh, sweetie, I don't think we're ever going to go back to normal. And what we really need to do right now is to plan for the post-COVID realities that are going to be a part of Rotary. In the States, we had Judy Garland. You probably would know her as one of the entertainers, and she often did movies about the war. And there was one movie in World War II where she sang a song that talked about how you're going to get them back down on the farm after they've seen Terry. And it's kind of an interesting concept because really we knew we had to do some things different in our Rotary world. And about a year ago, as I was beginning my journey as governor, I was saying, hey, how about if we do different kinds of meeting schedules, and what would it be like if? And how about we use some technology? And a year ago, it was, oh, no, we meet this way, or we do this way. Well, COVID has really given us a rocket ship into the future. Some estimate that clubs on the leading edge would have taken 3 to 5 years to get to meeting on Zoom like we are now. And for Rotary in general, maybe 5 to 7 years to be at this point. But we knew even before COVID that Rotary needed to change, needed to update, needed to do things a little bit differently. And we were looking for ways that we could begin to be relevant in the world. So today I wanted just to spend some time sharing with you some thoughts and ideas around change and innovation. And we look at that idea of innovation, and it's a word that we've kicked around a lot lately, especially when we think about how Rotary can adapt to a rapidly changing environment. And really and truly, Rotary's future will be defined by the way that our clubs adapt to the changes that we see and find innovative ways to do Rotary. And really, innovation starts with a vision, how we define who we are and what we do. And Rotary gave us a vision statement about 2 years back, and it has some key words in it. Together, people create change. And the whole vision talks about, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And from that vision, Rotary developed an action plan that really provided districts and clubs with a roadmap to change, to innovation. And the pillars of that action plan really encourage us to think about ways to increase our impact. How do we reach out into our communities and make a difference and have a bigger impact in the things that we do? Expand our reach, so we're touching more and more lives in our own communities and in communities across the globe. Enhance participant engagement, which is really a key factor. If I were to ask everyone who's been in Rotary for at least 5 years, how many people do we have, how many members are there in Rotary? Y'all would probably say 1.2 million, right? We've had 1.2 million Rotarians for as long as I've been there, and I think if we keep going back in time, we're going to get that kind of same statement from a lot of people. And the idea is that if we can increase our participant engagement, we will most likely be able to engage our members and keep them as active members of Rotary. The reason we have 1.2 million Rotarians isn't because we do a really bad job at recruiting Rotarians. We do a really bad job of engaging them and retaining them as Rotarians. And the fourth pillar, the fourth way that we have this action plan set forward for innovation is to increase our ability to adapt. And never has that been more true than the way that we really got on board and rapidly changed the way we do things around COVID. It kind of left a vacuum behind us. We're still filling in some of the gaps as we move forward, but we're finding ways to do things differently. And if we're really serious about growing Rotary and attracting new members from all different demographics, we really and truly must innovate. And that innovation really takes on a variety of different forms. If you think about it, we really have to develop a mindset, an innovation mindset. And that's really not something that's always been a part of Rotary. I've told some people, Barry probably knows this story well, is that when I first joined Rotary, I was all excited about becoming a Rotarian and bringing new ideas and doing things. And I asked, hey, what if, and how about, and could we do? And at that time in Rotary, I was met with, no, we don't do things that way. Because we really didn't have a mindset for innovation. We just did things the way that we've always done them in the past. And I know change is hard, and maintaining the status quo is relatively easy because it's comfortable. It's something we're familiar with. But maintaining the status quo doesn't lead to the kind of innovation we need to grow Rotary. So innovation really begins with developing a culture of positive change and adapting to the needs of our new realities and challenges. The second kind of innovation that we need is what would be termed disruptive innovation. And disruptive innovation is an innovation that creates new market opportunities and new value networks. And in these opportunities and in that value exchange that we offer, we eventually disrupt the existing markets and the existing value networks. And it also begins to relentlessly grow in popularity. People begin to look at what we're doing and thinking, hey, I want to be a part of that. And that relentless growth in popularity eventually displaces the other competitors that we might have. John Huco, Rotary's General Secretary, said recently that with a growing group of individuals looking to connect, looking for friendship, and looking for an opportunity to get involved in the world around them, Rotary truly is well positioned to be a disruptive innovator. And I agree with that. If we can find ways to do Rotary, new ways, new innovative ways to do it, and create opportunities and relentlessly grow Rotary, we will make a difference. So when I talk about innovation to Rotarians, I often suggest about how Rotary would look if we were launching a new service club today. Not in the world of Paul Harris, because everything that Rotary has done really worked out of the model that Paul Harris developed for us. But if we were looking to start a brand new service organization, what would it look like? How often would you meet? What kinds of projects would you do? You know, imagine for a moment what Rotary clubs could look like in the future. Clubs that could change their meeting schedules and their meeting formats. Clubs that relax attendance requirements and offer multiple membership types. Perhaps cause-based clubs that reach across geographic boundaries to truly make a difference in a larger community. So today, I'm going to challenge all the Rotarians in Chatham to think outside of the box, to find ways to imagine innovation and do Rotary differently. In talking about change and innovation is good. Making change and providing support and resources will ensure our success. So we need to get beyond just talking about it, but really finding ways of making it happen. And when I think about what an innovative club would look like in the future, there's 5 characteristics that come to mind. 5 ways that clubs can ensure their success in innovation. And the first is to appoint an innovation committee and an innovation committee chair. If we focus our attention on finding new ways of doing things, and it becomes something that reaches the board level within your club, you're going to focus on innovation and change, and you're going to make a commitment to it. You're going to have that innovation mindset throughout your club. And that committee could help develop the strategic plan, the vision statement, where the club goes next, and move the club forward in a very real way. A second characteristic when I think about an innovative club is one that has diverse meeting structures. It may include hybrid meetings, where some people attend in person and some attend via Zoom. Maybe a schedule of half business meetings and half service meetings. A schedule where meals aren't included, nor are they mandatory. Maybe a schedule that has meeting times vary throughout the month. One midday, one in the evening, one on a weekend, but offering opportunities to for people to become involved in Rotary. You know, if we go back to the getting back to normal, we're really never going to be in that same format that we have because people have experienced something different in these months of COVID. So what are we going to do to make our meetings different and our schedules more diverse? A third indicator or characteristic of a of an innovative club is to have multiple membership dues structures. Reduced dues maybe for partners of Rotarians, for Rotary alumni, dual Rotaract Rotary memberships, corporate memberships, are all ways to make Rotary more accessible to everyone who wants to participate in service. A fourth characteristic of an innovative club is one that appoints a club diversity, equity, and inclusion chair. The chair is actively and deliberately working toward making the club's membership and activities more diverse, more inclusive, and more equitable to everyone. and making membership more appealing to underrepresented groups, and ensuring all voices are heard, working to eliminate barriers to access, opening opportunities for more Rotarians. And the fifth characteristic that I see in an innovative club is one that is active and accurate in its web presence. Innovative clubs have a social media presence and a website that are active, accurate, updated regularly, and they have information about the club, the district, and Rotary International. They use our brand identity in a way that helps connect their club to all of the other Rotary clubs in the world. And that identity helps us tell our message and tell our story in a much more clear and concise way. So looking at these 5 indicators and really looking at our long-term sustainability and growth strategies, I know it just doesn't appear out of thin air. It takes work. It takes a dedication to innovation. And it requires a commitment from the club to innovate and to best serve the needs of the community and continually look at those needs as they evolve. You know, we never find things always at the same point in time. We're always evolving and we're always doing things a little bit differently. So today I'm going to challenge all of us to think outside of the box and to grow Rotary through innovation. Let's try new approaches to doing Rotary. And I'm confident that through innovation and through thoughtful change, we will embrace the opportunities that lie ahead of us. And we'll really be able to look back at our time during COVID and say, that was the beginning of the way that we found a new way to do Rotary. So again, thank you to all of the Rotarians in Chatham. Thank you for your time and your dedication to your community and for all you do for Rotary.
Thank you, Karen. Now, I always like to have a little bit of a question period. So we have our district governor with us. If we have any questions, please raise your hands. And I think I see Barry with a quick one.
Yes, District Governor Karen, excellent presentation. Excellent use of PowerPoint and clear and concise messaging. This is the first time we've had a DG visit via Zoom, just like we are doing here today. Just wondering, based upon your references to change and innovation, how many Zoom DG visits have you done so far? Have you had any in person at all?
I've had 12 on Zoom and 3 in person, and I have another one scheduled tomorrow in person. So they have been a combination. And of the 3 that have been in person, 2 of them did utilize the hybrid model where they had members on Zoom as well as members present for the talk. Good use of technology on both sides. So it was good to see Rotarians, but it was also nice to have those that couldn't be there included through Zoom.
Thanks. So Brett, I'll just say one final comment. It's you're in the right spot at the right time, Karen, to zoom in with your technology expertise background.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Any other questions for our DG? Okay, so
Allison?
Oh, Allison?
Yep.
Sorry, Brett. I can't tell if I'm that visible on my cell phone here. I'm going to have to use my computer next time. What do you think about Jennifer Jones being RI president?
I am so excited.
Me too.
Long time coming. I've gotten past saying long overdue. It's just been a long time coming, and I am so thrilled. Knew for a long time that she would be the one when it happened, and genuinely feel that it wasn't because she's a woman, it was because she truly has earned and deserved that role. And I'm very, very happy.
Oh, I could not agree more. And I appreciate the leadership at the district level as well. So thanks for stepping up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Allison. Any other questions? Karen, please unmute.
If anybody's wondering what that cryptic message was that I posted, it was in response to Peter, who let me know that he was taping this and that I didn't have to take photos of Karen's slides so that I could look at them later. And I missed the first two, darn it. So anyway, thank you very much, Karen. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate you too.
So what we have set up, Peter had to skip out last week, so I had the recording chore. And so what happens when I record is it's like, what the heck did I do and what have I got to do now? So it took about 4 tries for me to be able to get that recording over to Peter, who doctored it up slightly, and he has sent it back, and I'll have a link out to you on that one. And then we'll do the same type thing with this, where we can send out a link to some of our message or our events that Peter has loaded up on a YouTube. And Peter, will
yeah, there's a YouTube channel now for our club, and so all the recordings of the Zoom meetings end up on that YouTube channel. And in fact, we can put other stuff, other activities. Of course, there are not many activities right now, but if anybody wants to put together videos, we can put them on the YouTube channel.
Karen, please.
Yeah, just to Peter's comment about the YouTube videos, that way we can share them with prospective members and let people know about the kinds of things that we learn at our meetings, and a little bit about some of the folks that, particularly when we do classification talks, would be good.
All you need to do is you go to the YouTube channel, copy the URL or the internet address, and send it off to whoever you want to send it to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yep.
We'll let you test it, because I'm going to try that with the Mark Bala one. I have several people I need to send that out to as well. So, all right, so that concludes all of our questions for Karen. I just want to thank her very much for, well, normally we'd say making the trip down to Chatham and coming here, but basically no tolls, no gas, no nothing. So boy, your budget must be looking really good this year.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much. It's really great to have a DG come and spend time with us. Our average group is in 22 range of people that come in and join us. So very thankful that we can put Zoom together and have a little bit of time. I go into the office that we have for Rotary, so I do have the opportunity to see many of the members throughout the week, and it's always good. So you have that. Although it's not the same as getting together in a meeting, and the way things are going, it's looks like my year will be this kind of meeting. So we'll just keep going. Jennifer is trying to compile a list of speakers coming up. So we'll thank her very much for continuing to do that for us. And if anybody has some ideas, please let us know, and we'll get a time slot booked in there. There are many good speakers coming up. I saw Barry or Peter, you were, there's a speaker tomorrow at Farmington Hills, Gwen.
It's
Yes.
at 5 p.m. Erica Gwynn, who many of us have worked with on water projects. She is on the board of directors of Eileen Heasley's Vision for Clean Water, and a very pleasant person.
I think she came up through the Farmington Hills Club, or?
Yes, that's correct. So I'm going to go on the club Zoom meeting tomorrow morning to hear Erica speak. So I'll try to sign her up at that time.
Okay, wonderful. We'll take our speakers. With Zoom, I mean, you can get your speaker from anywhere. Just look at what we did to Mark last week. He was up at 2 a.m. to join us. So, very much appreciated.
just hop in for a second. I do have a zone meeting on developing a crisis management plan that I have to zip out to. So the other thing about Zoom is they usually end up being back to back to back. But I appreciate your time today, and I do appreciate everything that you all are doing in Chatham to really make a difference in your community. So thank you for all you do for Rotary.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining
Thank
us,
you,
Karen. Really
Karen.
appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead. Bye. As I mentioned before, I'll get the recording out on a memo shortly. I don't want to bombard you with too many things, so I try to keep my emails down a little bit, but we will be passing this along very shortly. Okay, any other questions? Anything for the good of Rotary?
Just one thing, Mr. President.
Yes,
There
sir.
are so many of our members that are not being reached out to. I think it's one of the things we should add to a future agenda is what it is that we can do to using one of the former committees that was in place that disappeared, which is the Keep in Touch Committee. And not only is it people who are not able to attend Zoom or don't want to attend Zoom or whatever it is, but it's also people who may have illness or what have you. And I think that's another valuable element, because one of the things that came out of today's presentation from our district governor is the variety of innovation and so on. There are often some creative ideas hiding out there in the elderly heads and non-participating membership.
I think there's some great ideas out in some of the more senior heads. I'll go that way. And would love to get more involved. Our average being in that 22 range is good. And I've heard, from some that say, oh, I can't, we're not allowed to join in on Zoom. We can't do that on our computers from work. And, but there's many ways that they can do it. I just wish some would take a little more of an opportunity. But being able to put this out possibly on YouTube, that might get some hits on that. I'm looking forward to see how that goes. And yeah, definitely she had quite a lot of pretty good information there that was good to hear. Allison, please.
Just to build on your point, Brett and Tom, I think I'd be happy to sort of do a quick synopsis to send out in an email, including the link, or maybe Peter, one of us. That way everyone gets the email, I think, at this point. And if we can include the link to the meeting in the email, or even embed the video in the email, they can click and watch, and at least they're getting, at least for that initial contact, we can build on that, but we could start tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, Peter had sent me the one yesterday for Mark Balla, so I didn't want to send it out before him, but I'm going to send it out this afternoon. So
okay.
We'll give that a try and
Sure.
then sort of see how that's received, and then we'll have today's, and we'll have that forwarded out shortly as well. I'm also sending it over to Chris and Eric at Cogeco, and they're going to capture part of it to put onto our Cogeco, where they used to have the rotary speaker anyway. So they're quite happy with the content to
Great
put
idea.
in there.
And I'll send you the link for this one, Allison.
Brett, so this picks up on DG Karen's comments just a little while ago, that a Rotary meeting can be any time of the 24 hours, 7 days a week. You have the link there to pick up the video link of a previous meeting.
Right. And I see another hand up someplace.
Well, Allison, are you going to basically send out a post-meeting email to the membership saying if you missed our meeting, here's the link? Something that would go out as soon as possible, as soon as the video is available?
I think maybe President Brett and Peter and I can figure out the best way to do that so we aren't bombarding everyone. But yeah.
I'm going to set out one on Mark Balla, and then we'll get the next one ready to go as well, and then go from there, Paul. Okay, Julia, are you still with us? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you would do us the honors, please. Thank you, Julia. Audrey, you get to see the banks of the River Thames and Rondo at some of its best, and all kinds of wonderful things at the end of this meeting. Thank you for joining us.